Can
Oh,
can Scott?
alive.
We alive.
And
Yes.
one of our guests already has a question. What was the question, Marie?
No, I just wanted to know who this guy.
Who
What?
what? I don't know. Anyway, we need to introduce ourselves. Someone else might be watching. So, this is Mark Davenport, and I'm here with my lovely partner,
Heidi. Yeah.
Yes.
And we are in the community gathering of the Wisdom Factory.
The Wisdom Factory community.
Yeah.
Yes, all right.
Mm-hmm.
And we're coming to you from beautiful Umbria in Italy, where we hang out and host these shows, and we also have room for lots of guests. So if you're anywhere between Rome and Florence, you're not far from us. Stop by. We got room. We have wine, food, stuff like that.
Yeah, and maybe we should say we are not only doing these gatherings. I mean, this is a half public video, so not really everybody will find it, but somebody will maybe see it and doesn't know it yet, that we are hosting also the show, The Wisdom Factory, on Wednesdays. And it will be 2 more episodes.
Yes, 2 more.
2 more episodes, and after that there will be a free training by Lawrence Gold. He is a community member in somatic education, and if you are interested in participating on this free training, please leave your email address here on this URL, and you will get the information.
Yes, I want to, plug him a little bit, because we have benefited greatly from his teachings, and I believe one of our guests has also. Is that correct, Scott?
Yes, that's right. Hi, I'm Scott. I'm
Hi, Scott.
I'm a Wisdom Factory person that's been on the show. And I did a thing with the Wisdom Gold, the Golden Key technique, release technique. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Didn't mean to put you on the spot there, Scott. Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay.
So, and you are here from New York today, and
That's right. Okay. Calling in from New York.
And we have calling in from New York.
Connectedly.
Yeah, and now we have a new guest today here, Marie Cornelier from
Montreal.
Canada.
Somewhere.
Yes.
Montreal.
Montreal.
Beautiful
Quebec.
city. Yeah.
Would you like to say some words about you? Because we have already in previous sessions talked about us, about Scott has introduced himself, but everybody who is coming new on video, I would like to give a space for some introduction. Tell us a little bit about you.
What you would like to know? Because the life is kind of vast.
Well, for example, you live in Quebec, in Montreal, you said, and I know that's a beautiful city, and I hope you enjoy your beautiful city. And we're wondering how you connected with us. Were you here from the Superhuman Operating System group?
Yes, that's exactly right. Yes, I've joined this new session that started in June, if I remember well, or in May or in June. And I posted on the Facebook. It's funny because I hear it twice. I say it and I hear it, my voice. Okay.
Okay, so it might be on our side, so we will use
the
headphones too.
Okay.
Okay, so what did you did cause you to take the course?
What did
your
it
interest?
cost
How?
It was 500 more or less American. Do you mean the price?
No, not the cost.
No, the course. The course.
The reason why you took the course.
Okay. I've been introduced to Ken Wilber approach in 2009 by a friend, and I'm studying it since. And but I'm used also to do lots of webinar trainings, emerging women's and those type of trainings. And at the time, there were no type of training with the integral perspective. I missed the first class they done, but then when I saw the second class, I joined because the beauty of the community is also part of the training for me. And I missed it, like I was saying earlier to you, is that in French there's not a big discussion, especially not in Montreal, around the integral approach. And I missed it exchanging, because it's not only to study and having a book, it's also about exchanging and so I wanted to join a group so I could exchange.
Yeah, this is wonderful, and it's exactly why we do that, because we have studied independently integral theory alone with books, having nobody to talk about, and now thanks to all these tools, we can communicate worldwide, no? It's really, really, really great.
I'd like to ask Scott if that has been your experience too, that there was a time when you thought, where are my people?
Yeah, I think it's something that comes into your mind when you start you read a Ken Wilber book or you see a talk. I came across something on YouTube, I think back in 2007. And I said, "What is this guy?" And then I realized he was an author. And then, of course, you just kind of go through the books. But it's one thing to do something by yourself, and you kind of do your own thing. And then if you tell your friends, and they kind of they don't know what you're talking about, and like Ken says, you do get that glass-eyed look. So it does feel sort of lonely at times. And so joining the Integral Life website was something that I did, and now now I'm on your show.
Yeah, for quite a time. I don't even know how we got into contact. It seems for years and years that we know each other. Probably it's not, but
I think our contact began on Facebook.
Yeah.
And
social media.
There.
Yeah.
Social media. It's
sure.
Great. So let's go to the topic of today. The main topic is orange.
Well, that's right. We planned on talking about the orange levels.
Okay,
today.
But I thought we could talk just a minute about the last Wisdom Factory episode we had. I don't know if you have seen that, Mary. It was on Wednesday. And it was with Elsa Malouf, and she talked about the possible way to peace in the Middle East, and it was very, very, very interesting.
Yes, because she's integral, Marie, and she's Lebanese, and she understands the Middle East, and she and her husband have been working diligently in that field. Through spiral dynamics, but in so many regards, I feel like spiral dynamics or integral they don't necessarily think so, but I think are very integral. Yeah, they have some quarrels with each other, but I just like the best of both.
Yeah.
And she got into this description of a way to not work on peace, because people there are at different levels. The Israelis are kind of
non-work on treaties more, or on discussions.
Don't bring the parties together because they can't understand each other. They're working on different levels. Palestinians are red. They need to move to blue, and the Israelis have blue, orange, green, and some integral. And so they're talking like this, and they might as well not even say anything, So she works with people in both Israel and Palestine.
Sorry, I'm laughing at the cat. So we are 5 now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an integral cat. It's okay. Yeah, yeah.
She is.
Yeah,
So
she's.
you were saying,
No, she. So she and some faithful followers, shall we say, of spiral dynamics are working in both Israel and in Palestine to increase the capacities of both parties to take care of themselves, lift their own levels up, to a point where they can speak to each other, but not be concerned about signing peace treaties, bringing people together for discussions before they're ready. And it was just, kind of a little bit sad that it has to take so long. But there's no shortcut to development, and so you realize that actually this is very optimistic and very well. Okay, it's optimistic. This is a way forward. And of course they based the model on Don Beck's work with the Clare Graves theories in South Africa, where Don managed to get different parties in that horrible apartheid era conflict to understand that it wasn't about skin color. It was about levels of consciousness. And that's where the color code came from originally. He used colors that didn't refer to anybody in particular. They would, so as not to confuse them with racial issues. Because there's a lot of Asians and Indians in South Africa too, and it's just a complex mess. And
it is worthwhile to watch it. Who hasn't seen it? Really, really, really interesting.
Yeah.
okay, I'll go and
do
see it.
Yeah.
But one thing I would say is that you're saying it, and I understand when you say it's disappointing that it took so long. But since studying more thoroughly Prince Wilbur approach, Green has been here only for 60s, which is in the humanities schemes, it's a blink. So in a way, yes, in a way it has been long, and in a way it hasn't been long, because people in green and turquoise are very active in their own way. They're very active. Also. Yeah.
Absolutely. But there, what seems to be, what I've understood in Palestine, there is the most difficult jump to do in first year from red to blue.
Yeah.
To create institutions. And this in our countries has taken a long time.
Took us centuries.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we would like to have them immediately.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Scott, I think you had some comments on Elsa's talk you wanted to add?
Yeah, it was a good talk. I recommend people watch it, because if you're at all feeling into the problems of the world, I don't even know how you couldn't be, but you would benefit from watching somebody who's there, who's in a position of influence with what I think is a really amazing amazing job to do in that particular area. And like she said, that it's not just Israel and Palestine. It's all the Middle Eastern countries are working on are really working on their power structure. And she talked a lot about Egypt too, the Arab Spring. She went and covered a lot of territory, and I've watched it actually twice because there was a technical difficulty the first time through, and the second time through I had to watch it again. So I had to watch it again because she said an awful lot. It's probably good to get her book, and because that's what she recommended that you do. So because it does seem to be like a very big, complex issue, and building blue is what she really seemed to hammer home, in my mind at least. Building adequate authority, non-corrupt authority. Imagine what that would be like over there without corruption.
Think what that'd be like here. Ha!
Yeah, anywhere I suppose. No
I was going to say here also.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, that's so important to get away from that self-centeredness of red and move into a group consciousness of taking care of one
And
another.
a healthy blue, because
Healthy blue.
we say it would be good here too in America or Canada, you know. That's why we are gone over, but we have a sort of repulsion to blue, and then it became, you know, we had a lot of unhealthy blue. I'm German, you know.
Yeah, but you know, it can be unhealthy, but it got us through the 30s and the 40s before it changed into, you know, orange domination, you know, in the 70s, about the time of that actor guy from California. What was his name?
Cowboy.
The cowboy.
Reagan.
Yes, Reagan, of course.
But one interesting thing you raised through the discussion, I didn't hear her, but it's also good for us, which is outside, because you know, with the web, with Facebook, we are very often asked to support a movement, to do a petition, to sign a petition. If we have a clear view or understanding what a person like her is doing, we could support more healthily the pressure. But because we very often don't know what is happening and how to transform that, we sign everything and nothing in a certain way. And what it makes us, it's to, because we are powerful in our support to something here. And I think the web gives us that, this tool of being aware and being there, showing us that, okay, we are supporting you, but what are we supporting? It can be very powerful, I believe.
Yeah.
And this is also what I liked in the pre-talks, before, that so many people who are really inside of these regions, which we are hearing only from the news, they say it's not as you hear, it's not as you think, you know,
Right.
it's different.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Italy isn't like you think either, you guys. Come on.
Okay.
It's not only beauty, it's a lot of beauty, but a lot of trash everywhere.
But there's a lot more beer in Germany. Hoi.
Yes, and in a country like mine, in Quebec, where most of the culture and the conflict is still between French and English, and French Canada and Quebec and the rest of the country, while on another level, in Montreal, I mean, I live in a neighborhood where I'm not sure still, but has been said there's 80 different nationalities.
Yeah.
So who am I, this French person, you know, pure blood French, I'm pure blood French on both sides, but living in a community with 80 different nationality, every type of sex and sex relationship. So the worldwide, so this also has to tell us, because we're not such in a conflict that we very often, what I believe, don't do much about it, we just let it flow like a duck over us. But we see through those conflicts what has created the conflict and what can still happen here if it goes wrong, or if it's never dealt with properly, healthily. How do we raise those issues and resolve those issues? And I believe, from what you say, I'm going to look at it very thoroughly, because I want to see what my position in a situation like that. Because I live daily, the culture are still very apart, and we're not growing up. And my love to Integral and my commitment to Integral, it's how to apply it in my own homeland, in my own space, you know. We're talking all over the world now with Integral people. But where I live every day is not through the internet, and it's not with you. It's this damn place where, like you say, it's lovely Montreal, but damn, when I get into those French fights, my head's not again, but still we're there.
You know, that brings up a characteristic of Orange, because Orange would see Montreal with 80 different nationalities there and say, success! You know, everybody's there and they're not killing each other and they're getting along fine. What's the problem? You know? Uh, Orange would look at this kind of political picture and the outsides of things and see that somehow the society was functioning, and it is functioning, that's for sure, but it lacks the sensitivity of green and the ability to actually start to look at interiors and examine in some depth, you know, what's really going on. Because I suspect that there are many, not picking on Montreal, but there are many marginalized groups in Montreal that simply kind of live quietly out of view and try not to make too much noise, quietly try to succeed in their own ways. And the official press often ignores all of those groups until something nasty happens. And then
everywhere in Orange neighborhoods, no, not neighborhoods, countries.
Countries, yeah.
Societies, yeah.
A veneer of civilization sitting on a stew of possibilities.
Everything works. Why should we bother?
Very interesting what you're saying. I never thought of it like that, but it's so true what you're saying, and not seeing both sides. What's what can go and grow better because we have possibilities that we're coming from that are not treated and raised and acknowledged. And at the same time, it's true, we've been so much better than we used to in the 60s or the 80s. Yeah. So yes, and we don't kill one another. And they even say about us, we have a revolution, a quiet revolution in 1960s. And somebody says, we have no story. He's a Québécois. And he says, you know, in Quebec, we have no story. When my friend from all over the world asked, how many people did die? He says, only one. They say, it's not a revolution, you know. So there is something about this. We have grown up, we have been take some space, but you're so right about the fact that there is much more that only green can bring together, can show and help us. Yeah, it's very, thank you for saying that. Yeah.
Would we go over to Orange and see what it means in our life, how we understand personally Orange for our life? Where did we realize, well, where is it like this?
And Scott, you may have something to respond to and also to speak about your own personal situation with Orange.
Sure. Orange is built on the structures that came before it. These are all first-tier structures. I'm just looking at a picture to help me cheat. And it's the AQUAL map, the AQAL map. And everybody starts out at square one with instinctive survival, beige, and then tribal, which is purple, and then egocentric, which is red, and then sort of the mythic, which is magenta, but in spiral dynamics it's blue. And then orange, we have the achiever stage, the multipleistic, individualistic, strategic enterprise, optimal achievement stage of development. So I think in America, at least, one of the greatest things that education wants to do is to take kids and get them at least to orange.
Yeah.
And you know, I went through the American education system. Nothing bad happened to me. But yeah, there's a strong individual emphasis on the individual in Orange. So it's about what you want. It's about your desires. It's about it's the first world-centric stage. So its ability, Orange is the beauty of Orange. I believe, if I'm correct in thinking, that Orange is the first stage. It's where the Declaration of Independence comes from, the Constitution from Orange kind of thinking, where there's the first individual rights thing. So for me, Orange in my life is the stage where I think, you know, I was in my teens then, so it's a little bit structured around your goals. So you're setting a goal and then going to achieve that goal. And when I went to college, for example, I wanted to teach art, and so I went toward that goal and I achieved that goal. I went and I achieved the education necessary to do that. Now in my life I haven't done that. See, after college I haven't taught art. I've wound up in special education, you know, with special needs, developmental disabilities, behavior type kids, that violent kids, the ADD type kid, the kid that can't really make it in a normal classroom, has to go to a special place. That's where I've been, and so the Orange in me sought mastery in that area, and always sees lack, sees something to work harder at, or sees something to work more efficiently or make more sense of, or that kind of a thing. So that's kind of currently been the past 10 years of my life, which is in special needs education programs. And just recently, the 17th of June, my job, the school that I was working at, closed because they don't have any money and couldn't keep open. And so now I'm looking for work again, and I'm wondering, do I really want to do more of my life in that same thing? Because, before, I think an American could, or an idea of America was that you could get a job or a career and stay in that your whole life, and stay, 30, 40 years in the same thing, and then retire, and then you're all set. But I think that kind of America is kind of come and gone, personally. That's my opinion. And I think that that's, I'll stop right there for now.
I want to add that in our vision of America from Europe, we always think the Americans go from one job to the other, while we were so fixed. Our whole identity was built on the job you had. I mean, it was was not called job. It was really a work which was supposed to give you everything. And so I think Europeans are much more in trouble to find out that they cannot work the same thing from 20 to 65 or something, that they have to change. And I see that is because we have created our identity with our work, which I don't see so much in Italy, for instance, and I think also in America it's not so much. So
that's funny. People do have traditional jobs here in Italy, things that they do, but they don't really identify themselves with their work. The work they carry very lightly. It's hard work often, and it doesn't pay very well necessarily, but it's not their identity.
Right.
While in Germany, that's an identity. And I'm a little bit of I take over here, a little bit of a strange, we say strange bird.
Yes, you are.
In that, because... Yeah, I come to in my age now, and I have never really done a job in this sense. I mean, never, it's not true. I was a professional singer, I was in a professional choir for 2 or 3 years, and so on. I did something, but I was never a real employee. When I had here the employee, when I had the choir of the church in Rome, I got some money for it, little, but it was not a job. So. And I did all sorts of things, and private work and teaching and counseling and coaching and whatever. But, I never wanted to stay in one place. After 10 years, for instance, now it was almost 20 years of voice teaching. I know now how it works, and I'm not really anymore inclined to do it. I want to learn something new, and then I get frustrated because it's so difficult to learn new things. So what I wanted to say is that I see when I met my brothers, they all have done through their life, they wanted to do that and did it and created a...
We should say to Marie that we just returned from a visit to her family in Germany. So these things are on her mind.
Yeah, they are also in my emotions. And they have built a career, have money to spend, easily, and no real preoccupation. They will continue to do it until they, And I think, and I arrive at this age, I don't have a good pension, never, and should I have sacrificed, let's say, my life in the Orange way, I'm here and there I need to go and put every energy in just one thing instead of 300 things I didn't do, but at least seriously I did 4 or 5 things. So in the sense of achiever, I think I am an achiever, but in my singing, in my voice sing, and in some other things too, but I'm not an achiever in making money or in make it get out and be recognized for what I did, because there were so many things which hold me back. We said, who am I to do that? And things like that. So,
can I take over?
Yeah.
What you were saying is resonating with me so much, but with many women around me. And I would like to raise the question of Orange, but from a women perspective. Yeah. Because when we look at Carol Gilligan's work that Ken talks about often, there is one thing he doesn't say about it, and I don't mean in any sense if it's good or bad. I'm just saying he doesn't say about it, which is, let's say we take only the 3 first degree that she talks about, okay, not the integrate one, but the 3 first degree. They're egocentric and the good one and the authentic, she call it. And what happened for the achieving for women is that they are relational. And that's what she says about the difference about men and women. It's that women are always relational. So the good frame of mind for women in their teens and later on when they have to choose a career and do this and do that, is that they are the good one. They are focused on, not on themselves, but on the others, and they need to be the good one. And the question for it means that what I'm choosing to do is in relationship with my boyfriend, my parents, my children, but not always figuring out what I need. It's the other steps later on. And that part of our life when men are focused on the rule, on what has to be done and what has been said, they're going like, way to go. Even though Mark, you told us, Scott, you told us that it's not really happening always like that. But for women, because I read it recently and I say, I understand what Ken spoke about, but I don't feel it for me to be egocentric and looking for the other. She says, in fact, for women, it's looking less to the other and starting to look at oneself that very often women doesn't do. And that's why we end up at, I'm 56, having nothing, not a car, not a house, not a pension, nothing. And you have taken everything of your life. I have a son, a granddaughter, focus on them. And forget, it's the other stage where she says it's the authentic, where women, because her question, I will just go back, in the good place for women to be the good one, the question was raised to about abortion to a young woman, and she says, why are you going through that? She says, my boyfriend wants to go to his study and he's not ready yet for a child, so I'm going. And she says, what do you think? What do you feel about it? And she says, what's wrong about wanting what he wants, making him happy? She says, nothing wrong. But in her mind, in Carol Gilligan, the researcher, she says, why does the girl always told me that it's okay to do the other, what the other thinks, And then she asked them, if it's okay to look after everybody, why is it wrong to look after yourself? Mm-hmm. And most of the time the women answer, good question. They didn't have an answer. They just would say, oh, good question. And it's later on in their life that women start to link, I can take care of the other and myself. So even though we're speaking about egocentric, ethnocentric, and world-centric, taking the perspective of others, what I've realized is that in a large frame, it's wonderful and it's real. But the way women do it, it's by learning to take care of themselves, which they don't do, which the guy do more often earlier state. They take care of themselves, and they learn to take care of the family and the young one later on. We did it. So we end up having nothing for us, and we are in that state where you say, and because I would say, from my point of view, what I see is that as a mother, as a grandmother, but earlier as a mother, or even as a sister, I'm from a 9 children family, you have to learn, big family. So you're the doctor, you're the cleaner, you're the cook, you're the teacher, you're the whatever, name it. So we in a space as women to have learned very early, anyway, in my home space, family, to do all those jobs. So my father always asked me, Marie, can you take something and go ahead and do that thing? And most of the time, I didn't know how to relate to that. This was not my experience Okay, he's not hearing us, I think.
Yeah, he's not hearing you, so he might go out again and come in again. So, yeah, Mary, do you hear me, Scott?
Yes.
No, you can, but Scott cannot. Yeah. I would like to answer to that or bring it in consideration. So for women, when we entered in Orange, in the male way, we try to get careers and do it as the man doing it. While our Orange would be a sort of retrieval, how to say, get ourselves together, and evaluate ourselves as the beings who we are, and not as the, I don't want to say machines, but the construct in which we have lived all the time, the expectations in which we have lived all the time. I don't want to say other people's expectations. It's mainly our expectations. It's not a guilt of anybody, but it's just as it has been. So for women, Orange would be to really become themselves and authentic selves in their relationships to others and to themselves. And this, unfortunately, doesn't bring much money, does it?
No. No. And that's why, for me, I'm a bit frustrated that this discussion stay with no gender specification. Mm-hmm. Because we're coming out from different perspectives, and we just feel as women, even sometimes, and not only in the integral, but in some other training I did, where I felt, you're not honoring that I gave my time, and that time taking care of a child, of a granddaughter, is a time where you know where it starts, you don't know where it ends. A baby is sick, you know where it starts. This morning, she woke up last night, she was kind of sick, but I don't know when it's gonna finish. It's not, okay, done at 5, mama's gonna be here at 5, and in between you cannot be sick. After you can be sick until 8, and not until 8, and then you can be sick at no. It doesn't work.
Like that. No, and you know what we have learned? We have learned by doing this, by being in this way, we have learned to be able to be, as we say, comfortable with uncertainty. We have learned to not to have the plans. I see it with us. Mark needs plans all the time, and and I say, oh, let's do it in this way or in this way. And I do really think that this is a quality. First of all, I agree with you that in many male built-up courses and things. There is not the feminine perspective, but that we need to bring this quality into society and make us respect in the good sense, show ourselves and show that we can do things differently, you know, that we can succeed in a different way. So, can you hear us now, Scott? No, he cannot. So
and
it will be.
For me, the orange is exactly that in a certain way, because the way orange is built, anyway, in my own experience, is that it's all about this scientific approach.
Don't worry, this is for
okay.
Scott.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So how can they honor? Because we are doing it. It's not a question, are we doing it or not? We are doing it already for centuries. Sorry, there won't be, and I'm not bragging because I'm women, but humanity wouldn't have been there if we weren't attending to it daily. So we are doing it. The question is not honor. So we feel, anyway, I do feel very often that what I'm doing has no value. Mm-hmm. And it's not placed in that perspective of valuing it, which it takes to be turquoise in a certain way, or even at green, it started to feminism and this. But even I see at green, it's not totally valued, because green are very cultural, they're still very dynamic, they're creating enterprise. In my region, or Montreal, they're making babies. Every woman in 30s are pregnant, and they do have 1, 2, or 3 children, which is shocking how many babies there is. Mm. But in a way, it's still...
Yeah.
It's okay. You hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry.
Okay, good.
Sorry for you. Yeah. But my point of view is that it's not, because very often we bring those issues without this perspective in mind. So we are forcing women or men who are more in that path of, let's say, the feminine, or you were saying agape, communion, mm-hmm. to not be fully recognized, and we go back to eros. We're going straight, we're going up, and it's not in real time at this time. From 2 or 3 last year of doing trainings, where I say, sorry, it's not that I recognize I need to understand and follow and integrate eros more in my life. I'm very the type of feminine, over feminine, pro-up feminine. So I need to, and I understand that and I honor that. But very often what I've realized very lately, I didn't do it because I felt I was never recognized in my own, and it was at the detriment. Detriment means...
victim, yeah.
Victim.
Yes, victim. It was, if I was doing it, I was one of letting go of that feminine, and there wouldn't be any feminine. I needed a healthy feminine. I didn't need no feminine. I needed a healthy. So I kept this unhealthy feminine to keep something, and that's why I say the orange, in that way, a healthy orange is for me the science who are psychotherapy, who are starting to bring the interior.
Psychotherapy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And psychanalysis and Gestalt, because they're bringing a bit in a very scientific, which I love, which I don't have problem, but they're bringing an interior and all allowing us to say, when you start a therapy, you don't know when you finish a therapy. You're just starting it. So you are bringing that, this more organic, where I cannot plan everything. I cannot decide and control everything.
Yeah. Scott, you have lost a little bit the discussion about the feminine and the masculine, and Mary was let's say, complaining, and for me she is right, that many of these approaches are very masculine. And for instance, my experience with Integral, when I bought the Integral, how was it, Life Starter Kit.
Oh, yes.
How is it called now? ELP, Integral Life Practice Starter Kit.
Yeah.
And you know, there are exercises you must do, and they do these
push-ups.
Push-ups. That's not an exercise for women. There are hardly any women who have trained hard to be able to do that. We don't have this muscle. We don't have these shoulders. We have a different body, and we need different exercises, you know.
Right.
And I thought, how can't they see that? How do they push the masculine approach on everybody?
Weight training for all. Yes.
But to go back to Marie, I think we really are called to not expect that they do it differently, but we have to step up and do it differently.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. This is why I brought the discussion about feminine orange and masculine orange. And I was saying, Scott, it started to say, I understand what you were there at that moment, you know, that it's fine what you were saying, but it's not at all my experience, you know. My experience is quite different. So, and not because I'm different, which is obvious, I'm different from you, but what I mean is that also because I'm a woman, and it's not, and Carol Gilligan explained it in a way that it's not said in the Integral, and I've 3 books of her, and I've studied her, and it resonated with me where I don't see it reflect in the Integral when they speak about that. And I realized that because it's like, for me, most of the time I have to do it backward. Okay, the practice is great and the frame is great, but from always focus on the other and forgetting myself, it's, for me, I have to learn to look at myself and balance my relationship with the other, which, and I won't say every man, but for men, it's, I see my son, I see my brother, is the opposite. They have put attention to themselves. They had succeeded or not, but they were focused on them. I was not raised like that. I'm an Italian family.
Yeah.
He still is. Would you like to say something about your orange?
Oh, yeah, you know, because I've always had trouble with jobs. Knew I had to have them and had to do it and stuff, and had to have some expertise and so on. And I struggled with this and that. And I remember in the 70s talking with friends about feminism, which was pretty militant in those days. And I said I was very disappointed because I wanted feminism to change work, to make it more pleasant and rewarding. And here they were trying to be supermen instead, you know. Yeah. And that was long before I knew anything about green or let alone the Integral. Because I, in many respects, despite the things that we differ on, I really am on that bell curve somewhere. I'm not over an extremely male end, and it has been a real problem for much of my life as a man, because I always get embarrassed when I meet a group of men or just single men, and they get around. And what do you do, Mark? You know.
You have nothing really great to tell. No millions of dollars.
So I try to make a big deal out of my mediocre careers. Serial careers, sort of like serial marriages, you know, one after another. None of them terribly successful.
Mark, what was your focus if it was not on the job? What was your focus?
Oh, mostly on relationships. That's where I found my. That's where I spent my energy. That's what really mattered to me. And of course, because they did matter so much to me, they ultimately failed too.
Yeah, because it was an approach to relationship which was, you know, like what I have understood.
How do you know that?
You told me enough. And I have prevented. I'm trying to prevent you to attach your me. You know. So this is about relationships, but it is the male relationship. Let's say.
Well, of course, it's different.
But it's more expecting to be kept.
Kept and
So
cared
being
for.
the good guy for not to be left, something like that, you know. So it's more when we are also talking about typology, it's more Enneagram 6, you know, to find out what the other wants me to be, so that I can react.
Yeah.
It's not really about relationships, you know.
Not in the same way.
Not in
No,
the
it's
same
not.
way.
Yes, yes. But I would like just to add, because not to make confusion, when she's explained those differences, Carol Gilligan, about men and women, what you see now is that there are men who are more feminine in their way and their approach, and women who are masculine. But still, which my son looks like you in a certain way, Mark. He's going from job to job because his attention is always on relationship. But still, he's doing it in a very manly way, and I'm doing it in a very women way, which we still have to honor. Our body is not shaped hormonally, obviously not at all the same. So we are dealing it from a different space,
And that's okay. This is okay.
and not it's only okay. I think we don't agree it enough. We don't honor it enough. We don't, and that is the orange for me was bringing, because there is more studies about women's bodies now, and I love it. That's the LT orange bringing that. Just to give an example, the other day I was in a seminar, and the man saying, you know, and he's talking to 1,300 women. And he says, oh, I go in the shower in the morning, flap, 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 it's done, it's so good, and I'm out. And then the same day, there is John Gray, the ones who have written the book, Men's Come from...
From the Mars.
Men are from Mars,
And-
women are from
yes.
Venus. Yeah.
And he was saying the same day, you know, biologically, women needs to go very slowly because the oxytocin doesn't come out in any way if a woman is rushed. So you cannot have pleasure, you cannot be feeling anything, you cannot be in a relationship if you don't, your body is not playing its role. So we are always rushing our body to have a physical and emotional relationship while our body is built to that extent. But that's the LT Orange, because he knows it by the studies, the difference that the body brings into, and we can start honoring it, not in the point of view that, oh, we women, you're so slow. And we
It
are
takes
always,
forever.
yes, and we need to do this foreplay for how long? And when he explained it, and it's because it was, I remember it was 2 seminars in a different organization. And when I heard John Gray saying, I went back to my first seminar and say, hey girls, I would like to add something about the man who was saying, quick shower in the morning, it's so lovely. Doesn't work for us. Because, and I gave the link to the study. And women answer back, oh, thank you, we've tried it. And we're still, you know, guilty about us not feeling quick enough. What's wrong with us? I know I feel like that because I'm a kind of, you were saying slow, Mark. I'm a slow. Body-wise, I'm very slow. Meaning, so it's so wonderful to have this LT orange, this but in LT in bringing a bit of the green, meaning that it's, I believe it's orange and green at the same time, bringing issue that we've never heard. Meanings, women's body, men's body, let's say racial studies, you know, but it's the orange who still does those research and doing them. But it's still bringing a bit, maybe I'm overlapping, I believe I'm overlapping orange and green in that sense, that bringing the issue to look at the very specific of everything. which is wonderful because now the minority we were talking earlier are more engaged because we have been recognized with our specificity. And
yeah, and we get also a sort of confirmation by science of things which we always sort of knew, but we never could really bring up. It was never recognized. Yeah.
No.
I'm very grateful that you brought up the men-women gender issue, because I really do think that it is often overlooked. You know, in both ways. We had a guest, Tom Golden. He had a show with us. It was called Men Are Good. And when he said, when he did, he was trained as therapist, but he was the only man in his
office of 13 women.
Yeah. And then he realized that his training was based on studies done with women. Women were, so he realized when he had men as clients, didn't work. So he sort of by himself, he had to figure out how to treat men, how to handle men's issues, you know. And this is good. Now we have studies about men. But when he began, I think 25, 30 years ago, that was sort of women, because women wanted to know more, wanted to come out, and so they went into therapy. Men didn't.
That's interesting. We learned about men's bodies for centuries, but only about men's internal self very recently.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do agree. I do agree.
So this is wonderful. The turn it has taken.
This is progress.
I would like Scott to give you a little bit the word and sort of close us out with your considerations. Okay.
Okay. I did miss a little bit of the middle there, but I feel like it's really important that we honor both the typology. So not just maybe even just masculine and feminine, but different kinds of people. We've got in America now, you can, if you're gay, get married in all 50 states. I mean, this is something brand new. So there's so much going on in the kinds of people that we are, or the kinds of people that we accept more, and the what they're bringing to the table, to just kind of take a real like shallow take on it. But I also feel like that sometimes it's really important to remember yourself, and that we both have agency and communion. So you are a free agent. You make decisions, you make choices, but it's impossible to make choices without being influenced by the rest of the world, by other people, by your friends and family. So it's, as I feel like I need to say, it's important to walk our talk, and we have these great conversations, but like we're in different areas of the world, and to bring that talking that we do out into the world is very important in your actions. So, you know, regardless of whether people see them as integral actions, it's important to do them anyway, I think, you know, and not to dumb down to green, or to honor, like we're doing today, to honor a first tier aspect of ourselves, because they use the phrase the allergy. You get an allergy to the level. You get an allergy to green, you get an allergy to red. In my case, I'm kind of okay with orange right now. So, and I can't wait to go back and listen to what Marie was talking about with women. I want to hear more about the feminine perspective. It's important to hear that too. Okay.
Good. And I think orange in a woman and also in the man should be both. The masculine way of orange and the feminine way of orange. And I'm beginning to be more comfortable in the masculine way of orange, so I'm beginning to talk about what I'm doing, for instance, coaching. And we, as Mark at the beginning said, that we have a guest house and a retreat and so on. I would never have done that before, because it seemed to be, you know, oops. But I have understood that when we don't tell people, whoever knows, you know.
Right.
So this is not to be somebody, but just let them know that, when they need the services we can offer, and we are doing relationship coaching and courses, we are planning online courses. How could they find us? So it is a sort of, somebody, when I did the feminine power training, they said, you deprive the world of your gifts if you don't go out and tell about them. And this is part of what we are doing now with doing these shows, coming out, being public people, and risk that somebody says, oh, these, and, and even there are sometimes strong offenses against people, but
Sure.
it's what it is. And
I was thinking, Scott, what would it be like for you as an artist if you didn't publish your work on Facebook? It just stayed in your computer
and Google
somewhere.
Plus, he has also put some on
Yeah.
Google Plus, and
Well,
I'm grateful.
I do have a website now too, so it's a slow process. It would be awful to not be able to share your gift to the world. Now monetizing it is a whole nother ball of wax. So I haven't quite figured that out yet. But a little bit, bit here.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter, because it's really about expressing and getting who you are, even in the context of just showing it. This is just a vision of it. This is and social media is so. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is the new mindset, and which is especially cared for on Google Plus, that you, by showing yourself and what you have, and you attract the people who are the right people for you, and you don't have to have 2,000, 20,000 people on your email list, because most of them, they're completely not a fit with what you are doing. But when you have 200, 300 people who are really interested in what you do, you should, I haven't tried it out yet, be able to finance yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't count on us, though, Scott. Even though we're on your list. Okay.
Good, and I will close it out. The wisdomfactory.de is our landing page where people who want a newsletter can sign up, and then the other one here, Wisdom, this is also part of this page, but I have shortened it a little bit up, because otherwise it would be a URL like this, a bit.ly Wisdom Gold. This is for the free training, which we will start probably at the beginning of this month, but we need your email addresses to let you know. It will be a closed group. It won't be public. Only people who are inside the group can participate, or live, or watch. This is both possible, but only those. So
I don't see the other link. Would you mind, Mark or Betty, to put it on the Facebook link?
Sure we will.
Yeah, we
because I don't
do that.
see it. My screen is way.
It's too small. Yeah. Okay. We will do that. That is a good good hint. So I have to change the lower third and put it on the side or somewhere. But we are when we are in two, we don't have space on the sides.
No, but still you can put it back to the Wisdom Factory place, and on the link that you created with the Facebook. You put it all over, so one way or another, we'll get it. What I mean, we'll get it.
Yeah, the last word about the next show, this will be equally interesting. This is Saeed Dalabani.
Saeed Dalabani.
And you can talk about it, because it's about a new
economic system. Saeed Dalabani is the husband of Elza Malouf. And they've been working together on these from a spiral dynamics approach about their particular interests. And Saeed's has been the evolution of economic systems. He has some really fascinating information to share. And it sticks with me that he sees the economic system as the lagging behind system. We have over on the other side, we have, the cutting edge systems of art, for example, and economics lags way behind.
But they change.
But they do change.
Yeah.
And guess what will be next? Green. So this is really a treat to be able to talk with him about these things.
Yeah, and then next week we see again, and probably we talk about green. That's the next thing.
One
No?
more word. No,
More.
I want to say a special thank you to Marie for coming in and joining in the discussion. You know, rather than just sitting out there listening, watching, maybe writing a comment or something. Thank you for joining in. It was great to have you, you know, mixed up with all of us.
Yeah, and please
awesome.
come back.
It's funny because it's typical of my overly communal space, which is because I didn't have any prior link to you, I was going to be step out and watch it. But because by accident your computer was open, we had a small chat to feel comfortable and to feel that link. I was able to say, "Oh yeah, I'm joining in." But you know, it's exactly what we were talking, how to raise the issue. The man can come in and jump in a discussion. I need, as a woman, very often a certain relationship, knowing you. I mean, just a few minutes, but still knowing. So,
Okay.
It was
you
safe
know
to
how
come
to
in.
attract women now.
Need all the help you can get.
I'm done with that part of the work.
But generally, in those things, it's all women and no men. So it's not relevant what I'm saying. In every training I'm doing here, 89 or 98% women, and there's 2 guys. So.
Okay, I think we will have an extra meeting about masculine and feminine gender things.
I
Yeah,
think
that
so.
would be. But let us first do the levels of
Yes,
development.
no,
and then
I
we
do
that.
agree. I won't. And
Okay.
I would like to thank you very much for organizing this. It's so wonderful to be able, and Scott, for you to be there, so that we can deepen our understanding of the teaching. And
Sure.
because of the discussion, we have others' perspective, which is at this time my own work, to listen to the other and heard of the other. So I really appreciate it.
And thank you. And what we are doing by talking about what it means for us personally, we are sort of embodying what we are learning somewhere more up here, you know? So,
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, as
Thank
a
you
French, the last thing I wish I could hug you, because you know I'm French.
okay. Scott, come on.
Huggies.
Italy.
It's
Huggies.
okay.
Bye bye then.
Okay.
See you
Au revoir.
next week.
Bye-bye.
Au revoir.
Wow.